Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that can shift your entire life. Everybody wants big success, the nice car, the financial freedom, the dream lifestyle, but very few people understand that it doesn't start big. It starts small. Your whole life can change forever with just 10 small habits you choose to repeat every single day. See, success is not one giant leap. Success is a bunch of tiny steps that nobody sees, nobody celebrates, and nobody claps for except you. I grew up learning one powerful truth. If you want something, you got to do something different. And most people think they need some insane transformation. They think they need to stay up all night grinding, burning themselves out, working like crazy. But let me tell you the truth from my own journey. It wasn't the big dramatic changes that built my life. It was the tiny habits and little decisions. The things I did every day when nobody was watching, when nobody cared, when nobody believed I would ever make it. Small habits compound over time and create massive long-term transformation, and most people underestimate just how powerful that truth really is. When we think of changing our lives, we imagine big moves, major sacrifices, drastic lifestyle shifts, or complete reinvention. But the real magic of growth is never found in one dramatic action. It is hidden in the small, consistent behaviors that repeat day after day. A tiny decision you make today may feel insignificant, like it has no immediate impact, but over weeks, months, and years, that small action compounds into something far greater than you expected. Just like a single drop of water seems useless until millions of drops create an ocean. Your small daily habits merge to reshape your reality in ways you cannot see in the beginning. Most people quit too early because they don't feel that instant reward. I'm not realizing that success is always delayed. The small efforts you put in are like seeds planted underground. You don't the growth at first, but the roots are forming, strengthening, preparing to break the surface. This is why patience and consistency are two of the greatest partners to any habit you're trying to build. When you repeat a small habit long enough, it becomes a part of your identity. You don't have to force it anymore. It starts to feel natural, automatic, and effortless. Whether it's reading a few pages a day, journaling your thoughts, drinking more water, practicing gratitude, meditating for 5 minutes, waking up slightly earlier, or organizing your environment, every small habit signals to your mind that you're becoming a better version of yourself. The brain thrives on repetition. Each time you follow through on a habit, your mind creates and strengthens neural pathways, making it easier to do again the next day. Eventually, the habit becomes so ingrained that not doing it feels strange. That's the power of compounding. What begins as discipline transforms into routine, and routine transforms to identity. The same principle applies in reverse. Just as good habits compound into positive transformation, small negative habits compound into long-term damage. A few minutes of procrastination becomes hours lost. One day of skipping your goals turns into a month of no progress. One unhealthy choice becomes a lifestyle of poor decisions. But again, the damage doesn't show immediately, which is why people don't take small, bad habits seriously. They think skipping today doesn't matter. They think scrolling endlessly is harmless. They think saying, "I'll start tomorrow" is no big deal. But tomorrow turns into next week turns into next year. And before they know it, the compounding effect has worked against them. Understanding this makes you realize that every small decision you make carries weight. Every habit is either taking you closer to the life you want or pushing you further away. There is no standing still. You are always compounding in one direction. The beauty of small habits is that they are manageable. You don't need extraordinary motivation to start them. You don't need to turn your life upside down. You only need to commit to small improvements, repeated consistently. The compounding effect rewards those who stay patient and disciplined long enough to witness the results. That's why successful people focus more on daily habits than on motivation. Motivation is temporary, habits are reliable. Once a habit is formed, it carries you even on days you feel tired or uninspired. The small actions that feel almost invisible today will become the foundation of your transformation tomorrow. Your daily routine determines your mindset, your discipline. I'm not talking only your personal growth, because the structure of your day becomes the structure of your life. Most people don't realize how powerful their routine truly is. They think life changes through big achievements, major breakthroughs, or sudden moments of inspiration. But the truth is far simpler. The way you spend your day shapes who you become. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, every habit, every choice, and every repeated action is programming your future. If your routine is filled with distractions, negativity, procrastination, and chaos, then your life will mirror that. But if your routine supports clarity, focus, gratitude, learning, and intentional action, your life begins to rise to that level naturally. You don't grow by accident. You grow by design, and your routine is the blueprint. The energy you carry throughout the day starts with how you begin your morning. If your first action is picking up your phone, scrolling through notifications, and feeding your mind with noise, you begin your day reacting instead of creating. But if you start your morning with intention, whether it's prayer, gratitude, reflection, planning, or quiet time, you set your mind on a higher frequency. That small shift influences your emotions, your decisions, and your productivity. Over time, your morning becomes the engine that drives your entire day. People underestimate this because the effect is subtle, but subtle does not mean weak. Subtle habits shape strong foundations. Your routine determines your discipline, because discipline is not about force, it's about structure. When you build a routine that supports your goals, discipline becomes easier. Without structure, everything becomes a battle. You have to fight your own mind, fight your impulses, fight distractions. But when you place simple systems into your daily routine, like dedicating specific time for learning, for exercise, for your passion, for rest, your discipline strengthens naturally. You don't wake up every day trying to figure out what to do next. You already know. Your routine removes decision fatigue, and in doing so, it frees your mental energy for things that truly matter. Your routine also determines how much you grow as a person. Growth is not something you do once in a while. Growth is ongoing, steady, and rooted in daily practice. Anyone can read a book for one day. Anyone can exercise for one day. Anyone can be motivated for one day. What separates those who rise in life from those who stay stuck is the routine that carries them through the days when motivation disappears. Because motivation will disappear. It always does. But routine has the power to keep you moving even when you don't feel like it. If you build a habit of learning something small every day, your mind expands. If you build a habit of gratitude, your perspective elevates. If you build the habit of planning your goals, your confidence grows because you're no longer drifting, you're directing your life. People often say they want a better life, but they continue to repeat the same routine that has kept them stuck. You cannot change your life if you keep living the same day over and over. Change happens when your daily actions change. Even simple adjustments like waking up earlier, setting boundaries, limiting distractions, eating healthier, or dedicating time to a craft can completely shift your long-term trajectory. When you control your daily routine, you control your mindset. When you control your mindset, you control your decisions. When you control your decisions, you control your future. Your routine is not just a schedule. It is the environment in which a future self is created. Consistency matters more than intensity, because real transformation comes from what you do repeatedly, not from what you do occasionally. People often believe they need to make huge sacrifices, dramatic efforts, or intense bursts of action to succeed, but those moments, while impressive, don't build long-term change. What builds lasting progress are the small, steady actions that continue day after day. Success doesn't reward the person who works the hardest for one moment. It rewards the person who works steadily, quietly, and consistently over time. Intensity feels exciting, but consistency is what produces results. Anyone can be motivated for a short period, but only those who choose discipline in the absence of excitement truly transform their lives. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. A small action repeated consistently grows into something much bigger than the action itself. Reading a few pages a day leads to finishing books that change your perspective. Saving a small amount of money regularly grows into financial security. Exercising a little each day builds strength and health over time. Practicing a skill daily turns you into someone who is capable, confident, and polished. None of these results come from a single day of intense effort. They are built through repetition. Most people underestimate how far they can go by simply not stopping. They want instant results, so when progress seems slow, they lose faith. But slow is not the enemy, stopping is. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just consistency. Intensity gives you a moment of progress, but consistency creates a lifestyle. When you do something intensely, you might make a big leap, but you also exhaust yourself, and it's difficult to repeat that level of effort every day. That's why so many people start strong and then burn out. Consistency, on the other hand, relies on manageable actions that you can sustain without draining yourself. It's about showing up, even if the effort is small. It's about honoring your commitments to yourself, even when you're tired or unmotivated. This builds a level of confidence within you. When you consistently do what you said you would do, you begin to see yourself as capable, disciplined, and reliable. That identity shift alone is worth more than any intense burst of action. Another reason consistency matters more is that it creates momentum. The more days you show up, the easier it becomes to keep going. You build a rhythm, a pattern, a sense of normalcy around your habits. What once felt difficult becomes natural. What once required motivation becomes automatic. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth because it reduces friction. It helps you flow. But momentum can't create it through intensity alone. It is born through repetition. Every day you show up, even in a small way, the wheel turns a little bit more, and eventually it begins to spin on its own. Consistency also reveals your true priorities. People can say they want success, fitness, confidence, a business, or a new skill, but if their actions aren't consistent, those desires remain wishes. Consistency separates dreamers from achievers. It shows what you value through your daily actions, not your words. When you choose to be consistent, even with small steps, you demonstrate to yourself and to life that you are serious about change. Life responds to effort, and effort measured over time always leads to growth. Most importantly, consistency eliminates the pressure to be perfect. You don't need perfect days, perfect motivation. You only need to keep going. Even imperfect effort, when repeated, beats perfect effort done once. Progress is not about how much you do in one day. It's about what you do every day. Small steps taken consistently always outperform giant steps taken occasionally. A life-changing mindset begins with self-awareness, gratitude, and intentional action, because these three elements shape how you think, how you feel, and how you move through the world. Self-awareness is the ability to understand yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, habits, emotions, and patterns. Without it, you move through life on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes, reacting instead of choosing, and living based on old programming rather than conscious decisions. When you become aware of your thoughts and behaviors, you finally gain control over them. You begin to notice the habits that drain you, the environments that limit you, the people who discourage you, and the routines that keep you stuck. At the same time, you discover the habits that empower you, the moments that inspire you, and the actions that bring you closer to your goals. Self-awareness is the foundation for growth because you cannot change what you do not understand. Gratitude is another component that shapes a life-changing mindset, and many people underestimate its power. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, from what is wrong to what is right, and from what you fear to what you appreciate. When you practice gratitude consistently, whether through prayer, journaling, or quiet reflection, you begin to see life differently. Instead of waking up worried, you wake up thankful. Instead of comparing yourself to others, you appreciate your own journey. Instead of complaining about what you don't have, you value what you do have. Gratitude opens the door to abundance because it puts you in a mindset of possibility rather than limitation. When your mind is grateful, your spirit lifts, your energy rises, and your motivation strengthens. You begin to attract better opportunities because you operate from a place of peace rather than anxiety. Intentional action is what ties everything together. You can be self-aware and grateful, but without intention, nothing changes. Intentional action means you choose your behaviors instead of letting your circumstances choose them for you. It means you wake up with purpose instead of drifting. It means you make decisions based on your goals, values, and vision, not on impulse or pressure. Intentional action turns your mindset into movement. It bridges the gap between who you want today and who you want to become. When you act with intention, even small steps carry great power because they are aligned with your future. You stop wasting time on activities that do not serve you, and you begin investing your energy into habits, relationships, and opportunities that help you grow. A life-changing mindset is built slowly, moment by moment, through the choices you make each day. It's not about perfection. It's about becoming more aware of how your thoughts influence your outcomes, how your emotions shape your decisions, and how your habits reflect your beliefs about yourself. When you practice self-awareness, you learn to interrupt old patterns and replace them with better ones. When you practice gratitude, you strengthen your emotional resilience and train your mind to see opportunities instead of obstacles. When you take intentional action, you turn your mindset and your progress into momentum. Most people want a better life, but they try to change the outside without changing the inside. They change their environment, their job, their relationships, or their goals, but they forget that lasting transformation begins internally. Your external world is a reflection of your internal world. If you want new results, you must build a new mindset, one that is aware, grateful, and intentional. When these three elements come together, you begin to shift your entire reality. You start thinking differently, feeling differently, choosing differently, and living differently. And slowly, without even realizing it, you become someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. Eliminating small negative habits is just as important as adopting positive ones because the things you remove from your life often create just as much growth as the things you add. Many people try to build new routines, set new goals, and create better habits, but they completely overlook the subtle behaviors that quietly sabotage their progress every single day. These negative habits are often small, almost invisible, and easy to dismiss, which is why they are so dangerous. A few minutes of procrastination, one more hour on your phone, a small moment of self-doubt, a little bit of gossip, or one skipped task may seem harmless, but over time, these tiny actions become patterns, and those patterns become your lifestyle. Just as positive habits compound into improvement, negative habits compound into decline. What seems minor today can turn into a major problem tomorrow if it's repeated often enough. Negative habits drain your energy, your discipline, and your focus without you even noticing. Something as simple as checking your phone first thing in the morning can instantly shift your mood into stress or distraction. Complaining regularly can rewire your brain to see negativity in every situation. Surrounding yourself with motivated people can quietly lower your standards and limit your ambition. Eating poorly or sleeping late becomes a cycle that affects your productivity, mental clarity, and emotional stability. These habits don't just waste time, they shape your mindset. Your mind adapts to whatever you repeatedly do. If you constantly allow negative habits in, your mind becomes conditioned to expect less from itself. Over time, you begin to normalize behaviors that keep you stuck. And once something becomes normal to you, it becomes extremely difficult to recognize as harmful. Removing negative habits creates space. Space for better thinking, better opportunities, better relationships, and better habits. Sometimes the fastest way to transform your life is not by doing more, but by doing less of the things that hold you back. If you remove procrastination, you instantly become more productive. If you remove negativity, your confidence rises. If you remove distractions, your discipline increases. If you remove toxic people, your environment improves. Growth is not only addition, it is subtraction. When you take away the habits that lower your standards, you automatically raise your potential. One of the biggest challenges people face is that negative habits often bring temporary comfort. Scrolling your phone gives you quick entertainment. Avoiding a task gives you short-term relief. Complaining makes you feel understood. Staying in your comfort zone feels safe. But temporary comfort leads to long-term disappointment. Positive habits, on the other hand, often feel uncomfortable at first, but lead to long-term fulfillment. This is why eliminating negative habits requires awareness and honesty. You must be willing to admit the truth. Sometimes the smallest behaviors are the biggest obstacles. And until you remove those obstacles, it doesn't matter how many positive habits you add, your foundation will still be weak. Negative habits also create emotional clutter. They fill your day with noise, stress, frustration, and distraction. When you let go of them, you create mental clarity. That clarity allows you to think better, act better, and choose better. It also strengthens your discipline because eliminating a negative habit is a form of self-respect. It tells your mind, I'm no longer accepting this from myself. When you make that decision repeatedly, you build confidence and inner strength. You prove to yourself that you are capable of change. Every time you choose to remove a harmful habit, even if it's small, you are rewriting your story and reclaiming your power. Most importantly, eliminating small negative habits helps you break cycles that have held you back for years. You stop repeating the same patterns. You stop sabotaging your progress. You stop living below your potential. And once those old habits are gone, your positive habits finally have room to grow. That's when transformation becomes visible and your life begins to shift in ways you never expected. Your life will only rise to the level of the habits you keep every single day because habits form the invisible architecture of your future. No matter how big your dreams are, no matter how strong your intentions may be, and no matter how much motivation you feel in the moment, your daily habits will always determine your direction. Success is not built in a day. It is built in the things you repeatedly do over months and years. People often believe that talent, luck, or opportunity is what separates successful individuals from everyone else. But the real difference lies in the habits they choose to live by. Habits shape your mindset, your behavior, your discipline, and even your identity. You may want to change your life, but until you change your habits, nothing truly changes. Every habit you practice is like a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. If your daily habits reflect discipline, effort, focus, and gratitude, you begin to see yourself as someone capable, responsible, and worthy of success. But if your habits reflect procrastination, distraction, inconsistency, or self-doubt, then you quietly reinforce the belief that you are not ready for more. Habits don't just create results, they create identity. And once an identity is formed, your actions naturally follow it. This is why building even small habits is powerful. They start shifting how you see yourself. You begin to expect more from your life because you expect more from yourself. Your life rises when your habits rise, and it falls when your habits fall. If your habits are strong, your confidence grows, your productivity increases, your decisions improve, and your opportunities expand. If your habits are weak, you constantly feel overwhelmed, stuck, unmotivated, and unsure. Most of the stress people feel comes from misaligned habits, not lack of potential. When you live with poor habits, even simple tasks feel heavy. But when you develop habits that support your growth, life becomes smoother because you're no longer fighting against yourself. Your habits become your support system. They carry you through the days when your motivation is low, your energy is drained, or your emotions are scattered. Habits become your autopilot towards success. The habits you keep also determine what you attract. When you build habits of discipline, you attract better opportunities because people trust disciplined individuals. When you build habits of kindness and gratitude, you attract supportive relationships and positive environments. When you build habits of learning and growth, you attract new skills, new ideas, and new paths. Life responds to your habits long before it responds to your dreams. You cannot attract a higher level of life with habits that belong to a lower level. This is why many people feel stuck. They are trying to achieve big goals while acting out small habits that belong to their past selves. Your habits are also your daily investment into your future. Every good habit is a deposit, and every bad habit is a withdrawal. At the end of each day, the balance of your habits determines your trajectory. If you deposit discipline, focus, gratitude, learning, and self-control, your future becomes richer and stronger. But if you deposit procrastination, negativity, excuses, and inconsistency, your future becomes limited and fragile. Success is not mysterious, it is mathematical. Your habits add up, and the sum becomes your life. What makes habits so powerful is that they operate quietly. You might not see the impact today or even next week, but over time they become undeniable. They shape your body, your health, your mindset, your relationships, your finances, and your opportunities. The people who succeed are not the ones who do everything perfectly. They are the ones who keep showing up with the right habits, even if progress is slow. Your life will always rise to meet the level of your habits, not your wishes. And when your habits rise, your entire future rises with them.